Good morning and welcome to the 10 a.m. daily weather brief. Looking at today's upper level wind profile, our freezing level sits at 14,500 feet and our winds near the surface are flowing more southwesterly, and then they veer with height clockwise to a more northerly heading aloft. And as for our wind speeds today, as far as the vertical column goes, our winds near the surface are a bit faster, with our observed maximum coming in at 20 knots at only 3,000 feet, and then they rather quickly taper off in the upper levels with only 5 knots at 12,000 feet, but they linger below 10 up to 25. Now pulling up our most recent surface analysis chart and looking at what we've got going on here, we do have high pressure off to the southeast, off of the southeast coast, that is bringing increasingly hot and humid conditions through Thursday, with heat indices potentially exceeding the 100-degree mark and likely triggering heat advisories in the coming days. All while we do have some upper-level ridging that continues to build over the mid-Atlantic, and that is following an offshore system that brought some localized heavy rain to many areas in the region earlier this week. And for today, although our moisture levels remain high, we do expect fewer showers and storms compared to yesterday, with isolated development remaining a possibility, as is a typical summer day. Now, come Thursday, warmer temperatures and high humidity can once again be anticipated, with a passing shortwave potentially triggering some isolated afternoon storms across the northern mid-Atlantic, and that will lead us up to Friday, in which we'll have a slightly more significant frontal passage moving through the area, and that has the possibility of interacting with our moisture-rich area and environment here, and that could increase the overall storm coverage, all while maintaining our hot and humid conditions into the weekend. And as such, an upper ridge near the southeast coast will keep frontal boundaries lingering nearby, which could serve to produce some scattered storms, especially Saturday and by Sunday. But by Sunday, the front lifts northward a little bit, in which we may see hotter temperatures with a few storms in conjunction with that movement. And then the unsettled pattern continues into early next week, with our seasonally hot and humid conditions staying in place, although some models do suggest that the ridge that is built in over the area and is continuing to do such might shift westward a little bit, and that could lead to a potential drop in our temperatures and reduce some of our storm activity. Now, looking at our 24-hour risk chart, largely unchanged from this morning, we are anticipating largely scattered conditions with some clouds building in throughout. And come this afternoon and into the early evening, we do see some of those rain chances come in. That is pretty typical of a summer day. And we do have the chance for the heat indices reaching 100 degrees, kind of hovering right around that cutoff, in which a heat advisory might be necessary. But winds today, they are also expected to slightly increase throughout the day, with our gusts sitting in the mid-teens, and towards the end of this forecast period, early Thursday morning, we see those gusts start to increase into what could be near advisory criteria. So tomorrow, an wind advisory being on the table, which leads us into the short-term risk chart here. Thursday, we can anticipate mostly cloudy conditions turning mostly sunny, with breezy conditions throughout and a high of 92. Thursday night, partly cloudy and breezy, with those winds likely tapering off at that time, but a low of 81. And Friday, partly to mostly cloudy, with a slight chance of a shower or thunderstorm in the afternoon, high of 89. And that brings us to the 7-day forecast. So tomorrow, rain chances should remain rather low. Can't rule out a pop-up thunderstorm, shower or thunderstorm. And then Friday evening, we do see those chances build in a little bit, and Saturday and Sunday, those chances linger a little bit, a little more elevated, before we get to Monday and finish out the 7-day period with low chances once again, just kind of indicating the possibility of a pop-up shower or thunderstorm, given especially that we are anticipating a bit more sunshine in those days. As for our temperatures, tomorrow should be a warm one, getting into the low 90s, and then in the following days, hovering between the upper 80s and the low to mid 80s. Overall, we have roughly 1 or 2 days in which some convective activity really has a good shot of popping up, but other than that, it should be largely scattered conditions and sun breaking through with a nice warm summer weather. That concludes the 7-day outlook, and I'll be back tomorrow at 8:15 with the daily weather operations brief.